Hey guys, Jeff Glover here from Glover U. As promised, I'm going to share with you my spring routine, which every year consisted of 5 different things. And the reason why I thought it was timely to share this with you, of course, me being based in Detroit, it finally feels like spring outside, even though it's been technically spring for a few weeks now. But also because I find that this time of year there's 2 types of agents. There's the type of agents that are going gangbusters because it's spring and everyone comes out of the woodwork and starts wanting to see homes or list their properties for sale. And that's the majority. But there's also another group of agents, and I see this in every real estate office, that is wondering when they're going to get their fair share, or how is it that the guy down the hall is busy and I'm not. And so I'm going to share with you today the 5 things that I made a part of my daily routine every single day when it came to selling real estate as a real estate salesperson. So first things first, you know, and I know this time of year it's popular, everybody wants to do open houses and get out there in front of as many buyers as possible, and I have a couple thoughts on that. So if you're going to do open houses, I really think you should treat it like a big event. And I knew growing up in the business, somebody taught me or told me about an agent that was in town, one of the best agents in town, that would hold 4 open houses every single weekend. And of course, when I heard that, I was puzzled. Okay, there's only 2 weekend days. How do you hold 4 open houses on 2 days? Well, this particular agent was the top agent in town, and they were notorious for doing an open house from, say, 11 until 1, and then 1:30 to, say, 3:30 on Saturday. Sunday would be, I think it was 12 to 2, and then 2:30 to 4:30. And so, first of all, that's how you hold 4 open houses on a weekend, which to me that seemed like, okay, once I heard it that way, it made sense. And I'm always trying to encourage our agents to do an open house or do several open houses on the weekend. And if you're not going to do an open house, what I'd rather have you do, and this is kind of the second line that I always say when it comes to open houses, because everyone gets excited about open houses. If you don't want to do open houses right now, fine. What I want you to do every weekend is schedule 2 hours, 3 hours, because if you figure an open house from 1 to 4 or 12 to 3, they're generally 3 hours. I want you to schedule 3 hours every single Saturday morning in lieu of doing an open house. If you want to be a high producer, do both. I would do this on Saturday, then on Sunday I'd have an open house. I want you to take the 3 hours that you would use during an open house and go in and prospect. I'll tell you, I had the most success prospecting on Saturday mornings. People were friendlier. They were more likely to answer their phone. They had less stress. They weren't getting as many calls from other agents. And so I always had a nice solid couple hours of prospecting every Saturday morning. And for those that have been following me or coming to our events, you hear me talk about schedule as many appointments as you can on Saturdays. It's the same reason. People are in better moods. They're looking to check a chore off the list. So I always believe the best day of the week to get a contract signed is Saturday. And the same thing goes for prospecting. The best day of the week to prospect is Saturday morning. More people answer, they're friendlier, they're more likely to set an appointment with you. So for me, that was my routine Saturday morning. And then of course Sunday I would always do an open house from 1 to 4. That was, at least in all of my experiences, the absolute best time to have an open house. So I was in an open house on Sunday from 1 to 4, and I was always prospecting every Saturday morning from 9 until 11, 9 until noon, depending on when I had appointments. And then I would do it at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and so on. So when people ask the question, should I do an open house or should I not? My answer is always yes, you should do an open house. And if you really want to make the best of your weekend, go in and prospect for a couple hours every single Saturday morning. It worked for me. You want to really be a top producer, do both. The second thing that was a big thing for me every spring, I had about 5 things that I would do. The second thing is I would stop by and do a lot of visits. So if I knew of a listing that had sold, even if it wasn't my listing, okay, I would prepare flyers for all of the neighbors that were surrounding that property. And generally I had a rule of thumb. I would never do more than 40 or 50 because I only had 45 minutes to an hour for this activity, sometimes up to 2 hours. So I would go 10 doors to the left, 10 doors to the right, and 20 across the street for a total of 40. Now, of course, if it's in a cul-de-sac or something like that, you're going to have to figure out what streets to hit. But I would bring 40 flyers, and my goal would be to get rid of every single flyer and notify the neighbors around a listing that just sold or that just came on the market. It didn't have to be my listing. It doesn't have to be your listing. Now, of course, you're not claiming that it's your listing or you're not claiming that it's your sale. You're just informing them of what's going on in the neighborhood. You'd be surprised of me letting them know what's going on in the neighborhood, giving them something of value. It was just a flyer, hey, just listed or just sold, and on the back side of it, it had all of the activity in the neighborhood. And people were very appreciative of that. It was I call them warm doors. because you're giving them something of value, you're giving them information. And my script was simple. We know when one home sells, usually 2 or more sell right away. So I was wondering, when do you plan on moving? And of course, 9 out of 10 of them said they had no interest in moving, and I'd always say, well, since I'm here, you have to know somebody that's looking to take advantage of this great market we're in today. And of course, my goal would then be at that point to try to get a lead if they're not going to be moving. So anytime I knew of a neighborhood where there was a listing or sale, even if it wasn't one of mine, I would make sure the neighbors knew about it, and I would start to get a reputation with them. We call it hybrid farming, which is a whole other series, and we'll get into that later. But take advantage of the fact that there's a lot of listings coming on the market, and there's a lot of listings selling. If you have a particular neighborhood you want to be in, certainly you could mail to them for years and maybe get a couple listings. But me going to the door, stopping by, had a much better effect than me just sending postcards or letters out to a neighborhood. Next, one thing I love about this time of year is for sale by owners. Now, you know we talk about for sale by owners a lot, and the nice thing about the spring is all of the sudden everyone thinks they can sell their home. So, you know, on an average day we might have just a couple new for sale by owners in the winter or in the middle of summer or in the fall. In the spring, I mean, we have 10, 15, 20 for sale by owners a day. Now, you may be thinking, gosh, I didn't have 20 for sale by owners that I found last month. Well, remember, I've been telling agents this for years, your market territory should be at least 45 minutes to an hour surrounding your home base or your office. So this, you know, I only go 15, 20 minute stuff, that's gone. In a market where listing inventory is scarce, you've got to expand your market up to an hour. Some of our agents drive even an hour and a half up to 2 hours to go on listing appointments. But the nice thing about this time of year is for sale by owners. So I would do for sale by owner visits on Friday afternoons. This was my best days for sale by owners. Fridays from, say, 3 to 6, 3 to 5, somewhere in that range. I'd introduce myself, ask them how the activity is going. I'd go through the for sale by owner script, which you should be able to find if you just Google Jeff Glover for sale by owner script. It's out there. I use that script right at the door, and I'd wish them a great weekend of successful showings. And then what I would do, I would ask their permission to follow up. I would get their phone number, and I'd call them on Monday. The absolute best day to call for sale by owners is on Monday. Everybody has had the weekend go past. Their confidence is high on Friday because they're heading into a great weekend and the weather's great, and we're going to have people come and make offers, I'm sure, and then Monday they're depressed because they did all this work to get their home ready for sale and nobody's interested in making an offer because they're not working with a realtor. So I would do all my follow-up by phone call on Monday. I would drop by on Friday afternoons, introduce myself, and wish them a successful open house weekend. Fourth, what's great about this time of year? I wrote down, and these are, by the way, the same things I shared with our team. Showing up is half of it, is what I wrote down. And I'm going to read it, so I'm, you know, obviously not making eye contact with you because I'm reading what I wrote, but I think it's important that you hear this. Just being in the office. I swear I think that I outproduced most agents in my office because I was there to take the walk-ins, the calls that no one was taking, and the opportunities that would just seem to fall through the cracks. I was always there to pick them up when I wasn't out in the field. I never understood why some of our agents think that they can become a top producer by not putting in serious office time. There was never a working day that I wasn't in the office at a specific time every day. Okay, I want to repeat that. There was never a working day that I wasn't in the office at a specific time every day. Okay, in this business, every day you might have a different end time. All right, you better have a same start time every day. You better have an agenda from 8 to 9, from 9 to 10, from 10 to 11, from 11 to 12, and I did. Right, so everyone should have a specific start time every single day. Of course, my end time was different depending on the day, but I made sure I was always one of the first ones in, and that always led to more opportunities. And the reality is that the more you show up, the more you're present, the more your head's in the game, the more stuff that is just going to fall in your lap. And the reality is it doesn't fall in your lap. You actually did something to get that business, and showing up is half the battle. So make sure you're showing up at a specific time every day. Finally, number 5, I wrote down springtime expireds. Now, there's good and bad with the expireds this time of year, okay, especially in the seller's market we have today. There's certainly less homes expiring. There's more agents working them, so they're getting pretty beat up. But what's nice, when you get a good one and you get it listed, it sells, right? So there may be less opportunities. There may be more homes that aren't expiring because the market's hot, but when you get an expired listing and you reduce it 3%, 5%, it sells. There was no magic pill to that. It's just taking a look at what it was listed at before, what's going on in the market. You reduce it 10 grand, you know, a couple percent, 3%, 5%, it's going to sell. I think I won with expireds year round because I don't think in Metro Detroit, at least in the last 10 years, and I know this is a pretty bold statement, but I'm pretty confident in this, I don't think there was another agent that listed or sold more expired listings than I have in the last 10 years. And my trick was I didn't stop after that first dial at 8 a.m. or 8:30 or 9 o'clock. I would call them throughout the day. I would call them in the evening. I always kind of had a rule. I would start my day with expireds and end my day with expired. So I'd call them from 8 till 9, and I'd finish the day. If my day was over at 7:30 p.m. that day, I'd go from 6:30 to 7:30, calling expireds. I'd take the leads home with me. I'd make the calls from home. If I was near my home on my last appointment, if I had a 5 or 6 o'clock appointment, I would have my leads with me from the day or from the last few days, and it'd be the first thing I did when I got home. And after I went through the round of calls, sometimes it was only 20, 30 minutes. I'm done for the day. Start my day with expires, end my day with expires. There you have it, the 5 simple things that you can do this spring, and that, by the way, I did every single year for probably 10 years in a row, and I'm still working with my agents on every single day. 5 things you can do to get your unfair share this spring. By the way, while I have you, we got a lot of events coming up in May, all right? So check the calendar. If you go to gloveru.com, I know we've posted a lot of them on the website, but if you go to gloveru.com and click on events, there's a whole list of events and things that we're doing this May. So check those out, not just in Michigan. And then June 4th and 5th is our big event, our Live Unreal Retreat. If you go to liveunrealretreat.com, you'll see an agenda. We've already got an agenda up. You can register. We'll be making additions to the agenda. I already know we've got some awesome people that we signed on. The #1 Keller Williams agent, Bob Lucido's joining us. A lot of cool stuff coming up June 4th and 5th in our summer event, liveunrealretreat.com. We will see you guys soon. Thanks.